What do you mean my account is overdrawn? That's impossible. I kept my voice calm, steady. On the other end, Elena, my husband's sister, was frantic. He promised me the rent money, Ava. He swore he'd send it yesterday. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to sound confused. Wait, he did what? Let her believe I was just now discovering the betrayal. But the truth? I had known for months. My name is Ava Langley, and my husband Daniel just became the biggest mistake of his own life. That Sunday morning, I woke up alone. The bed beside me was cold. Downstairs, taped to the fridge, was a note in his familiar scrawled handwriting. Goodbye. Never loved you anyway. I should have felt broken. I should have cried. But I didn't. Because unlike Daniel, I don't make the mistake of underestimating people. See, I've spent the last 15 years as a forensic accountant, tracking corporate fraud, following money trails, and dismantling multi-million-dollar scams. And 3 months ago, when Daniel started acting suspicious, I didn't ignore the signs. Red flag number 1? A man who never cared about our finances suddenly asking about our savings. Red flag number 2? Business trips that didn't match any legitimate conferences. Red flag number 3? A hidden credit card I wasn't supposed to find. He thought I was blind. What Daniel never realized was that every suspicious transaction, every secret withdrawal, and every shady move he made, I documented all of it. By the time he walked out that door, thinking he had pulled off the perfect escape, I had already frozen our accounts, flagged his financial activity, moved every last dollar out of his reach, built a case that would bury him. So when my phone started buzzing that Monday morning, each fraud alert, declined transaction, and desperate withdrawal attempt, I just smiled. Daniel thought he was in control. He thought he had played me. He had no idea I had already set the trap. The folder on my desk, marked "For When He Runs," held everything I needed to destroy him. And this? This was only the beginning. Daniel ran. But where he was going? He wouldn't like what was waiting for him.
Daniel thought he could disappear. He thought he could drain our accounts, vanish into thin air, and start over with someone else's money, my money. He had no idea who he was dealing with. While he was busy packing his bags, spinning lies, and making promises he never intended to keep, I was watching, calculating, preparing. See, I don't just crunch numbers, I predict behavior. And Daniel? He was just another textbook con artist, right down to his arrogance. I met Daniel 6 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, successful, and spoke about his work as an investment advisor with effortless confidence. Back then, I believed him. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags, the way he always dodged questions about his past, how vague he was about his clients, the way he got defensive whenever I asked about his student loans. But love makes you blind. Or at least it tries to. For the first 3 years, everything seemed perfect. We bought a beautiful home in the Milwaukee suburbs, planned exotic vacations, talked about starting a family. I thought we were building a life together. But Daniel, he was building an exit strategy. It started small. The business trips that never lined up with any known conferences. The unexplained deposits into accounts I didn't recognize. The jewelry store charges for gifts I never received. Most women would have confronted their husbands immediately. But I'm not most women. Instead, I watched, I waited, and I collected everything. For months, I tracked him like he was just another case file. Every time he thought he was covering his tracks, he was giving me more evidence. Late at night, he would sit at his laptop, moving money between accounts, thinking he was being careful. What he didn't know was that I had already installed tracking software on his devices. He wasn't just stealing from me, he was giving me the evidence to bury him. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. I was working late when my colleague, Mia, rushed to my desk. "Ava, you need to see this." She turned her laptop toward me. There it was, Daniel's name, tied to an ongoing fraud investigation. Not as a witness, not as a victim, as a suspect. I felt my stomach drop. His name appeared in 3 separate cases, 3 different states, and the pattern? Always the same. Find a successful woman. Marry her, drain her accounts, vanish. Phoenix, Denver, Seattle. Now, Milwaukee. I wasn't Daniel's wife. I was just his next target. That night, I didn't sleep. I reviewed everything with fresh eyes. The way he had slowly distanced me from my friends. The way he gaslit me whenever I asked questions. The way he acted concerned when I worked late, when really he was trying to make sure I wasn't watching him. I sat in our kitchen until dawn, staring at the evidence in front of me. And then, I started setting my own trap. For the next 3 weeks, I played the role of the loving wife, smiling, kissing him goodbye, pretending to believe every lie. Meanwhile, I drained our joint accounts before he could. I contacted federal investigators. I tracked every step of his exit plan. And on that Sunday morning, when he finally walked out that door, he thought he had won. He had no idea what was coming. Daniel thought he escaped, but he didn't run far enough. And now, he was about to learn what real fear felt like. Daniel thought he was free. By now, he was probably sitting in some cheap motel, checking his burner phone, waiting for the money that would never come. Maybe he thought I'd panic, that I'd beg him to come back, that I'd be too devastated to think straight. What he didn't realize? He was the one being hunted. The first call came Monday morning. We've detected unusual activity on your account. Were these transactions authorized? I could picture Daniel's face as his credit card was declined, as his withdrawals were blocked, as the accounts he thought were his lifeline crumbled beneath him. Then came the second call. Ava, it's Elena. Daniel's sister sounded panicked. I don't know what's going on, but the money he promised me, it's gone. Do you know where he is? I almost laughed. Elena had no idea she had been used as a pawn in his con. I played my part perfectly. Wait, what do you mean? I gasped, my voice trembling just enough. He left? He took the money? Let her think I was as blindsided as she was. Let the lie spread. The third call came that afternoon, a number I didn't recognize. Is this Ava Langley? The voice on the other end was sharp, controlled. Yes. Who's this? Rachel Clark. I believe your husband is also my husband. I froze. My grip on the phone tightened. I'm sorry. What? Daniel Murphy, or as I knew him, Daniel Carter. He disappeared 3 years ago. And now I find out he's been living a whole new life with you. Rachel and I talked for over an hour. The same story, the same pattern. Charming, successful man appears out of nowhere. Red marries quickly, gains access to finances, starts moving money, setting up fake investments. Then one day, he vanishes. Phoenix, Denver, Seattle. Now, Milwaukee. I wasn't his first victim. And if I hadn't caught on, I wouldn't have been his last. But this time was different. Because Daniel had finally picked the wrong woman. By Tuesday, I knew exactly where he was. He had used a fake name to check into a rundown motel just outside of Chicago, his old habits making him predictable. I stared at my phone, scrolling through every text, every financial move he was still trying to make. He was desperate, trying to call in one last favor, one last attempt to stay ahead. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from Daniel himself. I'm sorry, can we talk? Just one last time. I smiled. Bingo. I met Daniel 2 days later at a small, dimly lit coffee shop. He looked broken. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, his usual confidence replaced with uncertainty. Ava. His voice was low, almost pleading. I screwed up. I said nothing. I made some bad investments. I got in too deep. But I panicked, Ava. I didn't know how to tell you. I tilted my head, watching him lie so effortlessly. How much trouble are you in, Daniel? His eyes flickered, a moment of hesitation. Gotcha. About $200,000, he finally admitted. But I can fix it. I need access to our emergency fund. There it was, his final, desperate move. I pretended to hesitate, let him think he still had a chance. The emergency fund? Right, the one you tried to empty 2 days ago? His face paled. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Tell me, Daniel, was I supposed to be your last victim, or just the next one? For the first time ever, he was speechless. His mouth opened, then closed. His hands trembled against the table, and then... Who the hell are you? He whispered. I smiled. I'm the woman who just ruined your life. Daniel came here thinking he was in control, but he had no idea this wasn't a negotiation. It was his execution. Daniel stared at me, his entire world collapsing in real time. For the first time, he wasn't the one pulling the strings. I was. His breathing hitched, his fingers twitching as if calculating his next move. He had always been quick on his feet, ready with a lie, a spin, an escape route. But not this time. Because I had closed every exit. Ava, he forced a laugh, trying to compose himself. What are you talking about? I slid a thick manila folder across the table. Open it. He hesitated. I could see the sweat beading on his forehead. Open it, Daniel, I repeated, my voice colder this time. He did. And inside? His entire crime spree, laid out in perfect detail. Bank statements showing him draining money from our accounts. Red wire transfers to offshore shells under different aliases. Fraud reports linking him to past victims, Rachel, Elena, and at least 6 more women. His fake investment firm, one I had exposed as a Ponzi scheme. He flipped through the pages, his hands shaking. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. How did you... I smirked. You really thought you were the only one keeping secrets? 3 weeks ago, while he was plotting his escape, I was finalizing mine. Every credit card charge he tried to hide, I traced it. Every fake company he set up, I flagged it. Every offshore account he wired money to, I locked them down. I had spent months making sure that the moment he ran, every escape route would be cut off. And now, everything he built, his fake empire, his stolen money, his perfect little schemes, was crumbling before his eyes. Ava, listen, he started, flipping through the documents faster now, panicking. I didn't let him finish. You always thought you were smarter than me. He shook his head. That's not true. I love you. I laughed. Love? That's rich, coming from a man who was already setting up his next mark. His eyes widened. That's right, I leaned in, lowering my voice. Caroline Mitchell. Hedge fund manager? Sound familiar? His face went ghostly pale. Yeah, Daniel, I know about her too. I slid another folder across the table. This one had screenshots, his texts, his emails, his late-night phone calls to her, laying the groundwork for his next big con. Caroline and I go way back, I said, watching his world fall apart. You were grooming her, just like you did to me, just like you did to Rachel, just like you did to all the others. I saw his fingers curl into fists under the table. He wasn't charming anymore. He wasn't smiling anymore. For the first time, Daniel looked like prey. And then, the final nail in his coffin. I pulled out my phone and hit play. His own voice filled the silence. You really think she's gonna notice? She's so damn trusting. I'll be gone before she even realizes what happened. It was a recording, from his last phone call with Caroline. His exact words, his confession, his betrayal in his own voice. Daniel snapped.
He lunged across the table, trying to grab the phone, his voice rising in raw desperation. "Ava, please, we can fix this." I pulled back, unfazed. "Fix this?" I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, Daniel, I'm not here to fix anything." I stood up, brushing imaginary dust off my coat. "I'm here to make sure you never do this to anyone again." And just like clockwork, 2 FBI agents stepped into the cafe. "Daniel Murphy," one of them said, flashing a badge. "You're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud. Stand up." Daniel turned back to me, his face pure betrayal. "You set me up," he whispered. I smiled. "No, Daniel. I just made sure you got exactly what you deserved." Daniel thought he could con his way out of anything, but this time there was no escape. And the worst part? This wasn't even the final blow. Daniel didn't move. For the first time in his life, he had nowhere to run. The FBI agents tightened their grip on him, their faces unreadable, their stance unshakable. He knew it was over. His breath came in ragged, shallow bursts, like a trapped animal finally realizing it had walked straight into a cage. Gone was the confidence, gone was the charming smirk that had fooled so many before me. He looked at me now like a man drowning, grasping for a lifeline. "Ava, wait!" His voice cracked as he struggled against the cuffs. "We can fix this." "Fix this?" I almost laughed. "You're still lying, Daniel, even when you know it's over." His eyes flashed with something dark. Not regret, resentment. His mask had completely slipped now, exposing the truth. He wasn't sorry for what he had done. He was only sorry that he got caught. That's what people like Daniel never understood. Remorse isn't real to them. It's just another tool, another manipulation tactic. "You think you've won?" he hissed, his voice low and venomous. "You have no idea what's coming." I tilted my head, studying him. "What's coming, Daniel?" "Enlighten me." "I'm not the only one," he spat. "There are others. And you just made enemies you can't even see." Ah, there it was, his final desperate bluff, the last thread of control he thought he had. I stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. I wanted to see it, the moment the last piece of his delusion shattered. I lowered my voice, just enough for him to hear over the hushed murmurs in the cafe. "You're right, Daniel. I don't see them." I smiled. Because unlike you, they actually know how to disappear. His jaw tightened. I had shattered his last illusion of power. The FBI agents didn't wait for him to argue. They dragged him toward the door, his protests growing weaker. And then, it happened. The exact moment I had been waiting for. He turned back, his eyes wide, his voice raw, desperate. "Ava, please," he screamed. "Don't let them do this." There it was, the panic, the realization, the moment he understood that this time, there was no escape. I watched him fall apart piece by piece as the cameras flashed outside. Reporters swarmed the sidewalk, microphones thrust forward ready to catch the story. Daniel had always loved an audience. I wonder how it felt now. By tomorrow morning, his name would be everywhere. Investment advisor Daniel Murphy arrested in multi-state fraud investigation. His legacy, gone. His reputation, destroyed. His freedom, over. But the story wasn't over. I returned home that night, standing in my apartment, staring at the city skyline through my window. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt relief. But instead, I felt something else. A lingering sense of unease. Daniel had been playing a long game, a dangerous one, and I had unraveled it down to the last thread. Or so I thought. Because just before midnight, my phone vibrated on the table. A single email notification. No sender, no traceable address. Just a single line. "You think it's over? Look closer." A heavy chill crept down my spine. Attached was a photo of me, taken through my apartment window. My blood ran cold. Someone had been watching me, not Daniel, someone else. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the wave of unease rising in my chest. I had spent months tracking Daniel, watching him, preparing for him. But now, someone else had been tracking me. I opened my laptop, my fingers moving faster than my thoughts. I checked my firewall logs, my email history, my phone's GPS. Nothing. Whoever sent this wasn't just skilled. They were better than Daniel, smarter, more dangerous. Daniel's words echoed in my head. I'm not the only one. For the first time since this all began, I felt something close to fear. Daniel had always been a fraud, a con man playing dress-up in a suit and a fake smile. But now I was beginning to wonder. Had he been working alone? Or had I only taken down the pawn, while the king still moved in the shadows? Daniel was just one piece of the puzzle, and I had just stepped into something bigger than I ever imagined. I closed my laptop, my pulse steady, but my mind racing. Daniel was gone, locked away, his empire reduced to ashes. But the game wasn't over. Whoever sent that email, whoever took that photo, they were still out there, watching, waiting. Daniel had been a predator, but even predators have bigger monsters lurking above them. And now, they knew my name. I turned off my lights and stepped away from the window, my instincts kicking in. I had spent my career following money trails, hidden transactions, and digital footprints. Now, for the first time, I was the one being tracked. But if they thought I'd go down easy, they were about to learn just how dangerous I could be. The game isn't over. Want to know what happens next? Hit that subscribe button, because the hunt has only just begun.